Hello, everyone. I am so excited that you are here for a really great conversation with a dear friend of mine, Abiola Abrams. Let me tell you a little bit about her. She is a self-worth coach, a popular keynote speaker. She's an award-winning author, and she has a new book that is coming out, From Imagination to Reality, Secret Manifestation Lessons and the Law of Assumption, from Abdullah, Master Alchemist. So if you are into manifesting and you think you know everything there is about manifesting like I did, you're going to be glad that you listened to this conversation. Abiola, welcome.
Beautiful, Jeff. I'm so excited.
Me too. Well, first off, congratulations on this new book.
Thank you.
And as I was reading it, I was giggling because there was this chapter or this part where you said, I thought I knew everything that there was about manifesting. Sometimes we think that way because this word manifesting has been going around for so long.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about teacher Abdullah and what you learned, or just the journey of first discovering the teachings for manifesting?
Yes. So like you said, this word manifesting, luckily for us that this is something that, is just in the air and that we all know about. And, because if we think about, like our grandparents' generation, or for a lot of us, our parents' generation, they were not aware of conscious manifesting and, the idea that you create your life and you create your destiny and, are able to create your life in this way. And so lucky for us that this is something that we are aware of and that we know about. And so after a particularly bad breakup, many years ago, I went to go and stay at my parents' house and kind of recover and be in the covers and, eat cookies and whatever it was. And I started to, while I was out on their porch, I would be out on their porch working, and I started to chat with my mom's mailman. And out of the blue, I'm going to say out of the blue in quotes, because as we know with synchronicities, and you and I have had many, it is never out of the blue. Her mailman started to talk to me about Neville Goddard. And Neville Goddard, if you're unfamiliar, he was a New Thought speaker who does pretty much what we do. He was an empowerment guru in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond up to the 70s. And Neville Goddard, very interestingly enough, the mailman, he started to say, you should read Neville Goddard. And I said, I've read it all. I see The Secret. And at that time, I already was starting to teach this stuff. And so I was like, I know, whatever. I know everything I am, the expert on all things. I don't need any advice whatsoever, although I'm here crying about this breakup.
Don't worry, we've all had those moments. Yes.
And so, very interestingly enough, at the same time, I used to listen to Dr. Wayne Dyer. Hay House used to have a radio station. It was called Hay House Radio, became their podcast. And Dr. Dyer had a show that came on at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Monday. So I used to listen to his radio show. And then Dr. Dyer, interestingly enough, one day said, everyone really needs to read Neville Goddard. And he had written a book called Wishes Fulfilled, and it was based on the teachings of Neville. And I was like, whoa, okay, so I've got to check out this Neville Goddard. So I started to delve into learning more about Neville. And I was fascinated by the fact that he was from Barbados, and I have roots in Barbados. And then he also had a master teacher named Abdullah in the 1930s in New York City, coming out of the Great Depression. And he was describing New York City back then, which is fascinating to me as a New Yorker, but also extremely fascinating that his teacher was an Ethiopian rabbi. And so it was really interesting to see and to learn more. And as I delved into Neville's teachings, which are around the law of assumption, it did deepen my manifestation practice. I learned, I guess, a more layered approach than I had learned with The Secret and, that sort of manifesting, the pop manifesting that we all have access to. And so it was really a beautiful entry into those teachings. And as we say, when the divine God, the universe wants to get your attention, it's going to come from who knows where, even the mailman.
Yeah.
Who knows where it's going to come from, but it will find you.
I love it. Just feels so perfect and divine that you uncovered these teachings that weren't so mainstream at a lot of us know Wayne Dyer and we know Louise Hay, but even going back further to realize, well, who are the teachers of our teachers?
Yes.
That is such a beautiful thing to give Abdullah the recognition as well.
Yes. And that is it exactly. The teachers of our teachers. And Abdullah was also, a teacher to many different people that inspired Louise Hay and Wayne Dyer. And so to be able to see that trail of where their knowledge and their learnings came from was really inspiring. And so delving deeper into Abdullah's teachings and the law of assumption and the law of belief, the layer that was added on, which for me I think was a missing part for many people of The Secret, was the law of belief. Really is a simple way of thinking of it, if the law of assumption may be a little bit tricky. And it's really that, we will see it when we believe it. It's really like stepping into it and walking and living in the outcome, seeing it from the end and walking in that and assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. That's the one missing portion, assuming the feeling of what would it feel like in order to, in living your vision, your dream, your idea, your goal, whatever it is. What is that feeling? Assuming that feeling is really like the secret sauce that can spark up a manifestation.
Yeah, because oftentimes we have this dream, we have this wish, we have this idea of, well, I will feel good once I manifest this person, or I lose this weight, or I make this money. And so maybe we're clear on the feeling, but it's like the feeling just feels a bit out there. It's like, I want that thing because I want that feeling. So can you talk about that shift of, what do you mean, like, to feel it, feel it now?
Yes. So this was a big shift for me. My background has been as a writer I've had every kind of job, every kind of, in the writing world. At one point, embarrassingly enough, I was the gossip writer for Yahoo OMG, and I was on the Kardashian beat, and I would write like these like embarrassing articles, and people would send me hate mail and be like, how can you live with yourself putting this stuff out into the world? Or no, they would leave it in the comments. It was the comments back then, not knowing that the more that they commented, like, that was good for, like, my bosses is like, good, it's engagement. And, like,
I mean, the world hasn't changed much from that. Yeah.
Right. It hasn't. And so interestingly enough, I had in my mind this idea of like a starving artist. I was, as a writer, as an artist, as a creative person, I went to art school, and all of my friends were starving artists or starving spiritual people. And it was our worldview, was that if you were going to work in spirituality, or you were going to pursue your dreams or chase your dreams, as the language that we used at the time, in any way, shape, or form, you were going to be poor and you were going to be broke. And we felt righteous about that. It wasn't something that we felt, we felt righteous in the fact that, well, we are righteously poor and broke, but we are living our dreams, and we are better than those rich people who are a-holes and jerks. And, we had a righteousness about it. And that was the whole worldview of how I saw my life and saw, things going. And the people around me also saw and validated that as well. And no matter what I did, like I would, because I started out also, I was an actress, I would book a commercial or something and have a windfall and then go back to being like totally broke. Something would break through, and it was, and I would use the language of 2 steps forward, 4 steps back or whatever. And it was all, well, this is just how it is. And the shift was that while you are chasing your dreams, whatever you're chasing is running away from you, first of all, so let's not say chasing, But while you are in the idea of chasing your dreams or chasing money or chasing love or chasing whatever, there is a gap between you and that thing. When you're seeing a gap in, the not havingness of it, and that's what you're focused on, oh, well, I wish I could have that, or people like me don't get to do that. This is just how it is. Rich get richer, the poor get poorer, whatever stories you are telling yourself. While you are living in that story, you're not living in an energy of abundance. And so my thought was that when I was able to make things work, however that would look like, that somehow then I would be happy, because then I could be rich, then I could have money, not realizing that I had to have the feeling of abundance first. I had to have the feeling of wealth, of prosperity first. I had to be able to walk in feeling that my nature, that's just who I am, rather than for people like me, it doesn't work out. For people like me, it always works out. People like me thrive. People like me are successful. People like me feel safe and happy and feeling abundant and taken care of. Money comes to me easily and effortlessly. There are opportunities greeting me at my front door. Getting into that feeling first, and then, believe, in other words, rather than I'll believe it when I see it, I'll see it when I believe it.
And how does that look in practice? So is that spending a few minutes visualizing? Like, how do you get into that feeling?
So there are all kinds of things that you could do, and it works. One of the things that I touch on in the book that I think people haven't talked about, when it comes to manifesting before, is that just like we have different love languages and different ways of processing the world, that's the reason why certain manifestation techniques don't work for some people. So people will say to me, like, I love a vision board. But people will say to me, Abiola, I've been doing vision boards forever, and that just doesn't work for me. And they may not be a visual person. Or some people say, affirmations suck. You recommend affirmations, they don't work for me. But they may be not someone who's in alignment with words of affirmation. And so, if I were to share 3 techniques that I think are great to start with, you and I are lovers of tapping, and that's what brought us together. You can tap your way into the feeling. You can use a playful attitude about what you're calling in. And so if, for example, you're wanting, a promotion at your company that you work in, have a clear vision of what that looks like, and then tap on it. So, and then walk in it and live in it, dress in it, show up as that person, live in the after, the energy of the after, the energy of what it feels like to be in that position. So you could assume the story, like, I am now I'm now the CEO of this company, of XYZ company, and I've gotten a raise or whatever it is. And I've never had a traditional job, so this is probably a bad. I'm like trying to figure out like what it comes with it. I'm like, I guess a raise and position, an office, whatever it is that would have. So then you could, tell that story. And as you're telling that story, tap on it. It feels so good to show up at work, and I'm loved and respected. I love having a great corner office and looking out onto the bay. Oh, wow, my bills are all set up on auto pay and money is just flowing easily and effortlessly. I am making such a huge difference in the world, and it feels so good to be able to give back. And tap through it, allowing your nervous system to become aligned with that after feeling. So that is something that people could do.
I love that. I have to loop back to something you said before, because the word is so perfect, the righteousness. I resonate with that so much, that I was so righteous when it came to the money struggles I had as a kid. And I think at the time it was a defense mechanism. Like, I did feel better than other people with money, because I thought, well, at least I know the value of money. At least I know how to hustle. At least I know how to work. And at that time, it's probably what I needed. It was better to feel like that than defeated. But then you start to try to manifest, and then you're in the real world, and you do put a lid on your success, or you'll find ways to sabotage yourself because you're not supposed to be the person that has a swimming pool because you spent your whole childhood hating the other kids that had swimming pools. And so unconsciously, you just find these ways to procrastinate or avoid or not go 100%. I think there's also righteousness around suffering. Like,
Yes.
I'm righteous in my victimhood because, the world is hard, and at least I know what it's like, and at least I know my strength. And I'm so happy you brought that up, because that is a slippery one. It's not the one that we're always talking about or aware of. Usually we're like, I don't feel good enough, which, yes, it's a thing. But this righteousness, you hit on something there that I think a lot of people don't see right away until we have that deep reflection.
It's a big thing that many of us overlook because it's embedded in religion. The worldview. Many of our grandparents went through depressions, or parents went through, depression or whatever, and so it's very much embedded in our worldview. There's humor around, the idea of, rich people getting their comeuppance. It's something that's embedded in a lot of different societal stories and values. And so if you have those beliefs about those people, anything that brings you into you being those people, you're either going to sabotage yourself out of it, or you are going to not to keep yourself away from, having that success, or however you want to term it, if it's something that you feel is bad or wrong or, out of alignment for people like you,
Yeah. And I think it often comes up with jealousy. I mean, I think every time that you see someone else and you make an assumption and a judgment that, well, because they're rich, they must be this, or because they're thin, they must be this, or because they have that relationship, you're repelling that from yourself, because then suddenly when you're in the position, you're like, well, I don't want to be successful and get that judgment that I've been handing out. And I've had my moments too. I love your book because it's so important to have this self-reflection, because it's sneaky. Like, these beliefs are sneaky, and they're, like you said, embedded in our culture and our religion, that sometimes is like, we didn't just think, I'm going to just judge these people or have these beliefs about money. They slip in when we're kids.
Yes, very much so. I had the experience where, because I went to a very wealthy private school in New York City with, the children of like the wealthiest people in the country. And I was a scholarship student. And I had the story that I told myself was, well, I may not have access to the money that they do, but my parents love me. Their parents are probably all on drugs, or their parents don't take care of them. Their parents are, they're being raised by someone else, or whatever it is. So if that's the story that, say, I chose to stay in that story to this day, then what would I be able to avail my daughter to if I was going to be locked in a belief that lack and scarcity somehow made you a better parent? Like, that would be awful. That would be awful to have that framework for me, in raising my daughter, if the story was, well, any parent that has means is somehow a jerk and not able to be a full parent. Because I want my daughter to feel, to be successful and have every opportunity in life and have abundance and wealth and prosperity as her birthright and as the way that she sees the world.
Yes. And we've spent so many years telling ourselves these stories that we have to spend years telling ourselves new stories. I mean, that's why I feel like this kind of work on looking at manifesting, like, even as I was reading your book, I was just reminding myself, like, oh, am I fully taking advantage of this power? Am I fully activating this? What other beliefs might be slipping in that aren't serving me? And, having a book where we can create that self-reflection and those new stories, and we have to, because we have so much other information telling us the opposite. We got to kind of practice and sink into this new way of thinking. I thought your book was phenomenal. I really enjoyed reading it. I think, teacher Abdullah, I think there's something also so beautiful about you bringing, this amazing man from Ethiopia and the richness of the culture and the bringing his significance into this day and age, I think is very moving. And I just want to congratulate you on just creating something so beautiful.
Oh, yay. Thank you. Thank you. Here is the book. I love the cover. I love the cover art. Like, it feels to me very much like in the book I use scrolls to be able to organize and share the teachings, and I wanted it to feel like, like this is, because this is a manual for living. Manifesting, a manual for manifesting is a manual for us for living, for getting to live our dream lives. And as you said, making sure that we use this power that we have, this power that we've been given, using it in every aspect of our lives possible, and being able to remind ourselves of our own greatness.
Well, thank you for reminding us, Abiola. Thanks for talking with us. If you're watching this on YouTube or anywhere else, leave comments below. Let me know what your aha moment is. And Abiola, once again, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Jess. Talk soon. Thanks for watching.